What's going on, America? Hey, co-host,
Hey there. What's up? What can I help you with today?
uh, enlighten us about the war as I eat my breakfast. The Straits of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz. It's a really narrow shipping lane that's super important for global oil because so much of the world's supply passes through it. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. Because of that, any conflict there can really shake up energy prices and the economy. Is there something specific about it you were curious about?
Well, you know
It's
what's
because of its location.
right. What's going on over there right now? Have we secured any oil fields or?
I'm not really sure about securing oil fields. The situation in the strait is pretty tense right now with reports of attacks on ships and threats to close it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of international pressure to keep it open, but things are unstable. Is there something specific you were wondering about regarding oil fields?
Oh, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. What's going on
From
over in the Straits right now?
from what I'm seeing, there's a major crisis going on in the Strait of Hormuz after military strikes by the US and Israel on Iran. Iran has been attacking merchant ships, and the strait is effectively closed to many vessels. This has caused global oil prices to soar, as a fifth of the world's oil supply typically passes through there. President Trump has given Iran 48 hours to reopen it or face attacks on its energy infrastructure. So, it's a very tense and rapidly changing situation. Anything more specific you want to understand about it?
No, I'm just on YouTube doing a live right now. And I want you to just talk about it for the next 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, you're live on YouTube? That's cool. Well, 20 minutes is a long time to just talk, but I can definitely break down the biggest points for your audience. Basically, the Strait of Hormuz is a super narrow waterway, and it's critical because about a fifth of the world's oil supplies pass through it. Right now, things are incredibly tense because of military strikes by the US and Israel on Iran, which included the killing of Iran's supreme leader. In response, Iran has been attacking merchant ships, and the strait is effectively closed to many, especially US and Israeli vessels, or those they see as allies. This has made oil prices skyrocket because of fears about supply shortages. And President Trump has given Iran a 48-hour deadline to reopen it, threatening to hit its energy infrastructure if they don't. So, the big picture is that you've got a major global energy choke point caught in the middle of a war, causing economic fear and political chaos worldwide. What else can I clarify for you?
You said causing economic fear and chaos worldwide.
Yeah, exactly. Because of so much oil goes through there, when it gets threatened, everyone gets worried about price hikes and not having enough fuel. That creates uncertainty in the markets, which can lead to gas prices going up everywhere, impacting businesses and just everyday life for people trying to get around. Plus, it disrupts other trade, not just energy, since many products travel on cargo ships through that same route. Does that make sense? Or was there another part of it you wanted to focus on?
No, that makes sense. What about the gas prices?
Basically, when the strait hangs in the balance, oil prices tend to shoot up because the fear of shortages makes everyone react quickly. That trickles all the way down to the gas pumps, meaning people like you and me pay more. Analysts are predicting prices could go up quite a bit, and if the disruption goes on for months, it could really impact inflation and economic growth worldwide. Is there a
So,
particular country you're worried about the gas prices in?
what's going on in America right now with gas prices?
In America, the gas prices have been going up and up because of the conflict with Iran. The national average recently went up to about 3.72 a gallon, which is a big jump from just a month ago. In some places, like Washington state, it's even over $5. This is all tied back to the Strait of Hormuz and the disruption to the oil market. Are you seeing higher prices where you're at?
Probably like by 10%, 10, 15%.
Yeah, that 15% increase seems about right from what the data and analysts are pointing to. It just shows how connected everything is globally, where conflict thousands of miles away can directly hit your wallet at the gas pump. Are there any other aspects of the situation you're curious about?
Nah, just
Oh,
what would you tell me about
right.
that? Go ahead.
About the latest developments in the US Israeli war with Iran, today things escalated even more. President Trump has given Iran a 48-hour ultimatum to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face attacks on its power plants, starting with the biggest one. Iran has hit back, threatening retaliatory strikes on American and Israeli energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, there have been more missile strikes on Israel and reports of drone attacks on facilities in the region. It's causing a lot of instability in global energy markets, which is why we're seeing those gas prices go up. Anything else you want to dig into?
So, what's going on with the TSA workers?
I'm not seeing any specific news about TSA workers right now in relation to the conflict with Iran or the Strait of Hormuz. Their focus is usually on airport security here in the States. Was there something specific you heard about them, or was there a particular concern you had?
Yeah, I heard Donald Trump was going to send ICE.
Oh, I understand now. You're thinking about a report about President Trump possibly sending ICE agents to U.S. airports. That's connected to a separate issue with a potential government shutdown over Homeland Security funding, not directly with the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. He threatened to move them in to boost security because of the funding dispute. Does that clear things up?
You do?
Cool. Glad I could help. So, was there anything else about the situation or any other topic you wanted to chat about?
Okay. Well, I haven't seen the news this morning. Enlighten me.
Well, the big news this morning is that President Trump has given Iran a 48-hour ultimatum to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face attacks on its power plants, starting with the largest one. Iran has already countered, threatening to target U.S. and Israeli energy infrastructure in the region if that happens. There have also been more missile stacks on Israel. Because of all that tension, world leaders are holding high level meetings, and gas prices are still going up globally. Other news includes ongoing political debates in the US and some turmoil in government agencies tied to funding. Anything else you'd like to hear more about?
Uh, so what is Iran next move?
Iran's military has already stated that if their energy facilities are attacked, they'll hit US and Israeli infrastructure in the region, like power plants and IT networks. Publicly, they're claiming the strait is mostly open, except for ships from enemy countries, though that's disputed. Basically, they're pointing to US and Israeli aggression as the root of the problem, and it seems like they're digging in, signaling they're prepared for a wider conflict. What do you think might happen next?
Well, I need you to tell me, how bad is Iran really off? How bad did we destroy their communications, their artillery?
The strikes have definitely done some major damage. They've targeted Iranian radar and communication systems, which could disrupt their ability to coordinate attacks. There are also reports of command and control being disrupted, especially with the loss of some leaders. As for their artillery, specific details on that part are harder to come by, but it's likely many targets were hit in the thousands of strikes so far. However, it's important to remember that Iran still has significant proxy forces and other military capabilities, so they're not completely out of it. Is there something specific you were wondering about regarding the effectiveness of the strikes?
So tell me about their their jets, their warships. I want to know, did we target any of their military equipment?
Yeah, the strikes have definitely targeted Iranian military equipment, like jets and naval facilities. There are reports of them losing aircraft and patrol boats, and the Pentagon said they've even targeted the small, fast boats Iran uses in the Persian Gulf.
What
So,
about their warships? What about Iran warships?
reports indicate that Iran's warships have taken a heavy hit, with around 130 naval vessels sunk so far. Since the conflict began,
Wait,
the U.
wait. That's about all they got.
That number represents a big chunk of their fleet, especially the smaller fast boats they
No,
rely on.
no. Now, when you say their fleet, what do you estimate their fleet to be? You said it sunk around 130 warships. So when you say their fleet, what do you estimate their fleet to be?
Before the conflict, Iran's naval forces, counting both their regular navy and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, had around 250 to 300 ships of various sizes. So if 130 have been sunk, that's a huge chunk of their overall strength that's been destroyed. Did you want to know about any specific types of vessels that were lost?
Yes, aircraft carriers, navy warships. Yes, talk to me.
Right. So while Iran doesn't have major aircraft carriers, a significant part of their naval power, including frigates and corvettes, has been destroyed. For example, the Iris Dina, which was one of their more capable frigates, was sunk, along with several others. These ships were equipped with anti-ship missiles, which made them a real threat in the strait. Now, their remaining naval forces are reportedly scattered and disorganized. Is there anything else about the specific types of vessels lost you wanted to know?
Now, did
All right,
Iran
well,
try to, with
let
those vessels, before we sunk them, did they see us coming? Did they try to fight back? Was they able to shoot missiles from those vessels as we was attacking?
some of them were probably able to launch missiles. Yeah, many of their frigates and fast attack craft were equipped with anti-ship missiles, so they would have tried to use those to defend themselves or fight back. But it seems like the overall strikes were so intense and widespread that it overwhelmed their defenses, leading to so many ships being sunk. Is there another part of that question you wanted to explore?
Did we come in at night? Did we sink them at night or in the daytime?
Initial strikes were reported to have started around mid morning on February 28th, but the sustained campaign has included attacks day and night. Basically, it's been a combination to keep them off balance. Does that answer your question, or were you curious about a specific event?
Nah, tell me about a Pacific event. Tell me something that I don't know that's inside with the strikes or the war.
You might not know about the information war Iran's actively waging online. They've radically shifted their social media strategy by flooding platforms with targeted posts, calculated to exploit the war's unpopularity in America, even among some Trump supporters. They're using AI generated videos and memes to mock leaders and even fake successes, like successful strikes on a US aircraft carrier. This has happened at the same time they've imposed a near total internet blackout within Iran. Did you want to know how effective that strategy has been?
Yes.
Well, it's been effective enough to get President Trump to complain publicly, calling it a disinformation weapon. Cyber experts say these online campaigns are a big part of Iran's asymmetric strategy. To put it simply, they're trying to impose such a cost on the global economy and morale that it pressures Washington and Israel to stop the military action. Does that make sense? Or
Ma-
were you thinking of another kind of effectiveness?
No, it makes sense. Tell me more about what's going to happen uh with ICE and border security.
Okay, so President Trump's warning to deploy ICE is related to that partial government shutdown over Homeland Security funding. If a deal isn't reached by Monday, he's threatened to move them into airports to handle security, potentially saying they'll do security like no one has ever seen. That whole situation is separate from the conflict with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. Does that help clarify that part?
Yeah. So it's the stray win or we expected the stray to open for business.
Right now, it's effectively closed to many, especially those linked to the US and Israel. Iran is putting restrictions on vessels they consider enemies, which has snarled shipments and disrupted global trade.
So
The
how is it affecting Iran in their country by them not being able to do globally trades? How does that affect them day for day?
blocking the strait hits Iran really hard because oil sales are a major part of their economy. With those
Mhm.
shipments snarled, they're losing a massive amount of revenue they need to run the country. Plus, it makes it much harder to get other goods in and out. For everyday people, that can lead to shortages, higher prices for basic needs, and just a lot more economic hardship in their daily lives. Is there another aspect of that question you'd
Besides
like to?
oil, what is Iran known for trade?
Besides oil, Iran exports things like petrochemicals, particularly ethylene polymers. They're also a pretty big player in exporting iron ore, nuts like pistachios, and even acyclic alcohols. Some of their main trade partners include China, Turkey, Pakistan, and India. Anything else you were curious about regarding their trade?
Nah, not right now at the moment. Just enlighten me on something that's coming up that I don't know about.
Since you're live on YouTube, how about something likely on people's minds coming up? The FIFA World Cup starting in June. It's going to be in the US, Canada, and Mexico, and it's the first time three countries host it together, with more teams playing than ever before. That's something big millions of people will be following. Does that pique your interest or something else completely?
Something else completely. Um, let's talk about gun laws in North Carolina.
North Carolina's gun laws are a bit mixed. For handguns, you no longer need a permit to purchase one as of 2025, but you do still need to pass a federal background check if you're buying from a store. Open carry is generally legal without a permit
Wait,
if you're
wait,
18
wait,
and
wait, wait. You said if you're buying from a store. So what if you don't buy from a store?
you're right to ask about that distinction. Basically, federal background checks only apply when you're buying from a licensed gun dealer, like a store. For private sales between individuals, like if you buy from a friend or neighbor, North Carolina doesn't currently require background checks or permits anymore. Did you want to know more about the concealed carry permits we were talking about
Wait,
earlier?
wait. So if you get caught with that gun in North Carolina and you didn't buy it from a licensed store to get a federal background check, if I buy from a neighbor, he sells me a gun. That gun got two bodies on it. I don't know. Let's say I get stopped with that gun by a state trooper. Then what's going to happen?
Well, that's a serious hypothetical. If you're stopped by a state trooper and they find a gun connected to past crimes, you're going to be facing some real legal trouble, regardless of whether you knew about the gun's history. The trooper would likely arrest you, seize the firearm, and start by investigating where it came from. You could face charges for things like possession of a stolen weapon or, even worse, being connected to potential violent crimes. The
Well,
specific.
I mean, it's legal to buy a gun, right? From a non-licensed carrier, right?
Yes, that's correct. In North Carolina, buying a gun from a private seller, like an individual, is legal, and it doesn't require a background check or a purchase permit anymore, so you can legally own that firearm. The issue in the hypothetical was specifically about if that gun had been used in crimes before and was stolen, which would create a
So
host of other.
let's say I'm lawyered up and
Well,
uh,
if you have a lawyer, they'd be there to make sure your rights are protected during questioning and all the legal proceedings.
okay, but just hold up. Just let's say, the hypothetical is still there. Let's just say I really didn't know. I'm just really buying from an individual. And I was just speeding and got pulled and I happened to have the firearm on me.
Right. I understand you didn't know its history and that you were just stopped for speeding. Even in that situation, being in possession of a stolen weapon or one connected to a crime is still a crime, and the police would hold you responsible, at least initially. Your lack of knowledge might help your case later on,
But what?
the immediate consequence is that you'd be arrested and charged with possession of a stolen weapon. The legal system would look at the facts and the prosecutor would decide how to proceed. It would depend on what evidence there is that you genuinely didn't know,
Okay.
and also your
Now
prior
let's
record.
take the hypothetical out. let's just say the weapon is clean and it's not stolen. It's a clean, and I buy it from an individual, and I get stopped, and he run a background check on the weapon. How would he know if it's clean or not?
Basically, when a trooper stops you, they can take the firearm serial number and run it through a national database, the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC. That database lists stolen guns and guns used in crimes. If the serial number matches an entry, they know it's not clean. Since in this case the weapon is clean, it wouldn't show up, so the trooper wouldn't have immediate reason to suspect it was involved in anything bad. Does that explain how they check?
Right. So, if this gun is not being reported stolen or nothing, or haven't been in a crime, and nothing shows up on the trooper's end, he'll say I'm free to go, right?
Pretty much. If
So
the gun check comes
the North Carolina gun show, different gun shows in North Carolina, are those private sellers or they still have to run a federal background?
gun shows in North Carolina can have both. Licensed gun dealers will be there and they have to run federal background checks, just like in a store. But you can also find private sellers at the shows. And in North Carolina, those sales don't require background checks. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Now, what if I buy that gun from a private seller at a North Carolina gun show? I don't know whether he's a private seller or not. He sell it to me, and the gun is
Even if you buy from a private seller without
and the gun is not so clean. It might got a body on it or something, or it might be stolen.
even if you buy from a private seller at a show, if it turns out that gun is stolen or has criminal history, you're still responsible under law for possessing it. The police would typically arrest you, take the weapon, and start an investigation. Your lack of knowledge might help later, but you'd be facing those initial charges. Does that make sense? Or were you curious about something else?
Oh wow, yes, that makes sense. So, how do you know if your gun is clean or not?
That's the tricky part with private sales. Since you don't have access to those official databases like law enforcement does, there isn't really a foolproof way to know for sure. You're essentially relying on what the seller tells you and hoping they're honest. Is there anything specific about the gun or the purchase that made you wonder?
Okay, what if it's a licensed gun dealer and they gave you a receipt and said they had a shop, but they was at the show. They said, "Come on down to the shop to buy some weapons."
In that case, if they're a licensed dealer at a gun show, they still have to follow federal regulations. So they would have run the background check and processed the paperwork before selling to you. Getting a receipt is good for your records. Even so, it doesn't guarantee the gun is clean. It just means the dealer did their due diligence by running the check, which didn't show anything. If you went to their shop to finalize the purchase, the process would be the same. Are you thinking of verifying the
But
dealer's
what if I
license
didn't
number?
go to the shop? What if I finalized the purchase at the gun show? I showed them my permit because they wouldn't sell it to me without a permit and an ID. Showed them my permit and my ID because I had my conceals. So they,
Right. So if they required your concealed carry permit and ID, that's part of their process for following regulations. Since that permit means you've already passed a background check, they accepted it. In that scenario, you've done your part, and the sale was handled legally, even if it took place at the gun show rather than their shop. Was there anything else about that specific purchase that you wanted to discuss?
so what if it's a gun that contained bullets of a caliber of 7.62 by 39?
Okay, so you're asking about a firearm that uses a specific round, the 7.62 by 39 millimeter. That's a common rifle round, famously used in rifles like the AK 47. What about that caliber were you curious about?
But what if it's not a AK-47? What if it's a AK-47 style but considered a handgun? Sort of like PAP by Zastava. Sort of like a Draco.
Gotcha. So you're talking about what are often called pistol versions of those platforms. They have the basic shape and caliber of an AK, but they usually have a shorter barrel and no stock, sometimes with an accessory like a stabilizing brace. Legally, they're classified as handguns under federal law, provided they meet certain physical definitions. So the sales process would be the same as what we discussed for pistols. Did you want to know more about the distinction between a handgun and a short barreled rifle?
So let's say the PAP with the pistol grip type style, not an arm brace or a stanchion on it. The 7.62 by 3.9 by Zastava.
Yes, with the pistol grip only, that PAP firearm is legally classified as a handgun under federal law. The key distinction is that it's designed to be fired with one hand and doesn't have a stock for shouldering. So buying it follows the same rules as other handguns. Were you curious about something else on that topic?
So if law enforcement caught me with that, but it was clean, what would they say?
If the gun check comes back clean, meaning it hasn't been reported stolen or used in a crime, and you're legally allowed to possess a firearm, then generally there wouldn't be an issue with the gun itself. The question then becomes how you were carrying it, whether you were doing so legally, like openly displaying it in your car, or if you had a permit to carry it concealed. Does that cover what you were thinking?
Okay, let's say I'm a CHP holder.
Okay, so you have a valid concealed handgun permit. In North Carolina, that means you can legally carry it concealed in your vehicle. Just make sure you fulfill your legal obligation to tell the officer immediately when they stop you and present your permit along with your ID. Do you have any questions about
I'm
what to
on
do during
live.
the stop?
Let's get back to this in North Carolina. I went over. Let's
Right.
get back to this.
So during a traffic